The flower on the street is wearing clothes, and her eyes are sweeping towards Aunt Zhang. She is puzzled. Where's Qinya? Aunt Zhang lowered her head and twisted a wet handkerchief. Then she raised her hand and handed it to Mo Shanghua. That girl picked up a wounded girl outside the house last night and took care of her all night. She didn't fall asleep until she got up in the morning. She didn't have the heart to serve her. Such dereliction of duty should be punished by the princess. Mo Shanghua wiped his face with a wet handkerchief and then asked, "What kind of woman is that?" As for what Aunt Zhang said later, she didn't pay any attention to her plan. Aunt Zhang turned her lips and said, "Who knows, she took her directly to her house. We didn't really see her. It's just a pity that she didn't have a lot of breath. The princess should go to persuade her to throw the baby out. If she died in the house, it would be unlucky." Mo Shanghua frowned slightly and was about to continue to ask. Aunt Zhang immediately turned into a gossip woman. She glanced at Yan Beiqing and looked at Mo Shanghua. She said with a smile, "The princess was with the prince yesterday. I don't know if she will have dinner together today." As soon as Yan Beiqing saw Aunt Zhang's appearance, his sword eyebrows wrinkled tightly and his face was full of disgust. "Princess, where did you attract such an ugly woman? It's really bad luck that your mouth is so broken." Mo Shanghua's originally frowning brows suddenly stretched a little, and some could not help laughing. "In this case, Aunt Zhang, you'd better go out to wait on her, and give it to others." Aunt Zhang had some questions about yesterday in her mind. She wanted to take the opportunity to inquire about it. Now she was so embarrassed by Yan Beiqing. She was not in the mood to inquire about it. She threw the handkerchief to a servant girl and went down with a cursory salute. When he went out, he met Qinya, who came in a hurry. He hummed coldly on purpose. But Qinya didn't even look at her. She passed her directly and went in, which made her feel stuffy. "Princess." Qinya didn't sleep well all night. At the moment, she was still a little dark green, but she didn't feel sleepy. She was so anxious that she came to Mo Shanghua and didn't even notice Yan Beiqing. "I have something to ask for. Please move to my bedroom." Mo Shanghua is sitting in front of the dressing table, combing her long hair by her servant girl. She looks up slightly at Wen Yan. "But are you the woman you saved yesterday?" Qinya nodded heavily, and his eyes swept around. Then he saluted Yan Beiqing, and his eyes looked at him earnestly. Yan Beiqing had already finished dressing under the servant girl's service. When he saw this, he took a folding fan and said to the servant girl beside him with a smile, "Go to the side imperial concubine and let me know that my king is going to have breakfast with her, so I'll go." "Yes," said the foot. Also didn't hesitate, lift a step, then with just ordered of maidservant hind foot to go out. With the departure of Yanbei City, most of the people in the house are missing. But Qinya is still worried. She glances at the maid who is still combing her hair for Mo Shanghua and signals her to go down. Then she comes to Mo Shanghua's ear and whispers, "What I saved yesterday is not someone else, but the girl next to Miss Lu, who is called Charming Jade. Confirm it's Lu Qianqian's side?" The eyes of the flowers on the street are slightly fixed, and the long hair that has not been rolled up between the temples is pasted on the cheek. Qinya nodded with certainty. "I've confirmed it again and again. I found her in the corner gate of the backyard of my house last night. I was left with a breath. I thought you had rested, so I used the Ning Soul pill you gave me to hang her life for a while. I didn't expect that I was too late. I came to see her in a hurry. I'll take a look at it as you like." When the flowers in the street heard the words, they didn't even have time to comb their hair. They took out a hairpin from the dressing box at random, rolled up their 3,000 long hair and walked out quickly. Qinya quickly follows and leads her to her room. When the master and servant arrived, the charming Jade lying on her back didn't know what was going on. Suddenly, her whole body twitched, her teeth trembled, her eyes closed, and her pretty face was full of pain. "Put a handkerchief in her mouth." Mo Shanghua orders Qinya in a hurry, but he quickly steps forward and points several acupoints on the charming Jade. Qinya is also in a hurry to put a handkerchief into the mouth of the charmed Jade. She this just avoided accidentally bite to own tongue and die. Mo Shanghua continued to rescue her. She untied her clothes 3 times and 5 times, leaving only her inner garment. Then she took out an acupuncture bag from her sleeve and gave her acupuncture. With the silver needle falling at each acupoint, the convulsions of her whole body gradually stopped, and finally returned to calm. Emo Shanghua is not half slack. She pulls the wrist of the charming jade, and then removes the inner garment from her body. The wound on her body is immediately clear. Those who wait on the master's side are usually pretty girls. Charming Jade is no exception. Her eyebrows are pretty and her body is thin and white. But now her skin, which should have been white and flawless, was full of scars. The thin shoulder was covered with small wounds left by small cones, which covered her whole shoulder like a red rash. Although the wounds didn't look very good, it was inevitable that so many of them gathered together. The wounds were full of coagulated blood. There are many similar scars on the arm, some new and some old. It seems that they have been accumulated for a long time. What's more, her buttocks seem to have been tortured by the battle. She's already skin split and blood dripping. Even a few inches on her waist are involved. With a touch, the blood will pour out instantly. Qinya was both frightened and frightened. She couldn't bear it. "Princess, isn't Miss Lu the one who likes to pretend? How can you brazenly grind the girl around you like this?" Emo Shanghua frowned and shook his head. His eyes were dignified and he raised his hand to touch the charming Jade's forehead. As expected, it was very hot. This is the imperial city. No one's life is worth money, especially the maidservant's. Qin Yatan shivered when she was young. Suddenly she was very glad that she had followed the stranger. If she had been someone else, she might have been beaten to what shape. Emo Shanghua has no intention to talk and laugh with Qinya. He turns to the desk and takes the pen, ink, paper and inkstone. He starts writing on the paper quickly and speaks a little faster. "You can go to the street to get the medicine quickly. Remember, you must go in person. After catching the medicine, you can come back to boil it quickly without delay. If it were half an hour in the evening, she would surely die." Qinya should go down and put the prescription neatly between the lapels. Before she had time to step out of the door, Emo Shanghua suddenly took her hand and looked at the window. It seemed that she could see the situation outside through the carved wooden window. Then, Qinya didn't see how Emo Shanghua did it. She only vaguely saw that she had a silver needle in her hand. In the blink of an eye, she flew out, leaving a tiny hole in the window that was almost invisible to the naked eye. At the same time, a woman's cry sounded outside the door. Qinya just stepped forward to open the door. Her eyes were not good at looking at the door. She arched her body and covered her shoulder with one hand. She didn't have a good way. "Aunt Zhang, I didn't expect you to hunchback so soon. Are you still working in the future? You are only 27 years old now." I think Aunt Zhang's angry face turned red, but at this time, her shoulder was sore and tender. She didn't want to quarrel with Qinya at all, leaving behind a cruel sentence. "Little girl, I'll deal with you in the future." Then he covered his shoulder and left. "But don't want to," this words just finished saying, "cover the arm of the shoulder but also suddenly a hemp, then is born cut her hand and foot general pain." She screamed and looked down. There was a bright silver needle on her wrist, just like the one on her shoulder. Looking in the direction of the silver needle, you can see that in the half-covered house, the flowers on the street are staring at her. Although they don't speak, they are better than cutting her into pieces. She did not dare to be arrogant, even the silver needle did not dare to pull out. Quickly, Poop Tong knelt down, full of fear. Maidservant damn, the cold eyes of the flower on the street firmly fixed on her, and her words were more like the coming of death. "Aunt Zhang, I forgot what I said to you on the first day I came here so soon?" "Naturally I forgot. After all, I didn't put more control on her these days. I just wanted to drive her out to serve her. But now she is thoroughly recalled, can't help shivering, shaking mouth. Remember. Emo Shanghua's voice is slightly slow, but her words are extremely cruel. "I know all the little movements you do. If you are restless, I will never forgive you lightly and roll away." Yes, go away." Aunt Zhang was so scared that she quickly climbed down. Seeing this, Qinya snorted scornfully. Then she closed the door and told no one else to come near. She left quickly. Mo Shanghua left the room, took the ointment out, and carefully treated all the wounds on her body for her. After Qinya came back, she was busy again. Until noon, the breath of charming jade was stable. When she woke up, it was 2 more days. Princess, she's awake. Qinya looked at the charming jade, who slowly opened her eyes and hurried to the flower path behind her. The flower on the street saw it, only nodded slightly, with no expression on her face. Seeing this, Mo Shanghua simply let her vent enough. When her mood stabilized again, she said, "I should know that I won't save you because of my kindness." Charming jade can be Lu Qianqian within the side. Nature is not stupid, people, Bite nodded. There is no free food in the world. Maidservant understand. The princess want maidservant say what? Maidservant will tell one by one. Never dare to deceive half a cent. Qinya looked at her in surprise, a little surprised on her face. Do you have no hesitation? Charming jade with a sad smile, face with self-mockery. Maidservant was originally loyal, but miss, she never showed me as a person. Every day before people will be gentle and kind. People everywhere abuse me. Yesterday saw me seriously injured, directly abandon me. How can I continue to be loyal? Even if she could persuade others, she could not convince herself. So, why do you come to such a situation? Mo on the flower delicate mandible light point for a while, light way. When she heard that the master wanted me to be thrown into a mass grave, she asked for a few words of love. Although I was abused by her day by day, she never really hated her in her heart. If I hadn't lost my breath yesterday, and then woke up on the way, I would have died today if I hadn't been out of the city and still kept me in the alley. Mo Shanghua saw her face full of tears, pathetic appearance, can't help but silence down, eyes sweep to Qinya delicate cheek. The corner of Qinya's lips drew. Knowing that she was not pitying, she just didn't like the way that charming jade was crying. Then she handed the handkerchief up. Charming jade wiped tears, eyes hidden hate. Although I'm usually timid in front of her atmosphere, do not dare to breathe, but now I really hate her. You want to ask what? Just ask, I will confide one by one. Mo Shanghua saw the tears on her face, and she felt a little comfortable. She said, "You said Lu Qianqian stopped suddenly when he heard the cuckoo, and then disappeared?" She nodded and then shook her head. "I don't know. I only know that Miss seems to have a special magic power to cuckoo's call. Every time I hear this voice, I will spare my servant. Today's Miss is the only one who suddenly disappeared. I didn't dare to go in and see it. I don't know." Mo Shanghua looked down thoughtfully and then said, "Tell me all about Lu Qianqian's usual daily habits and favorite meals." Enchanting jade some don't understand, but also didn't ask much. Effort recalled for a while, then all told Mo Shanghua without falling a word. It all sounds normal except for 2 points. One is that Lu Qianqian will stop whenever she hears the cuckoo's voice, no matter how indignant she is. The other is that she is not in the room occasionally, but she will come back within a cup of tea. She only says that she has gone out for a walk and doesn't want to be followed. But her shoes are stained with mud. Another point is that she really loves Yen Moli to the core and thinks that he can come and marry himself every day. He often talks with Lu Bohan about the affairs of the imperial court. In his words, he always helps Yen Moli, and Lu Bohan sometimes tries his best to help him find his daughter's kindness. Mo Shanghua soon picked out all the key points in the charming jade words, thinking for a moment before she got up. "Thank you for today. I'll ask someone to take good care of you." She sincerely placated, "But I am also troubled here. Your identity is embarrassing. I will order people to move you to a safe place. I am afraid there will be places where you need to be in the future." She tried her best to sit up straight and show her respect. She will do her best. Mo Shanghua pulled down the corner of her lip and gave her a little smile. "When everything is understood, I will help you find a good marriage." Her face was full of gratitude. She quickly got up and kowtowed her head on the bed. "Thank you, princess. Thank you for your kindness." Mo Shanghua didn't help him. She put the medicine she had cooked at the head of her bed and went out with Qinya. Before going far away, Qinya stopped and looked embarrassed. "Princess, we are new to the imperial city. There are all eyes and ears in the palace. Where are we going to find a secluded place? On the street flowers smell speech, eyebrow also can't help but gently frown up, face do difficult color. If she is in Yuzhou, she can still find some safe places, but the imperial city is full of eyes and ears, and she has no foundation. If she is careless, she will be found. Qinya also frowned and thought hard. Then she seemed to suddenly think of something, and her eyes brightened. I remember when I was in Yuzhou, the 13th prince was very kind to the princess. Why don't the princess go to him for help? Mo Shanghua shakes her head and looks unhappy. I owe him a lot. I won't disturb him anymore. Qinya Dun is depressed when come down, that this can how good. The flower on the street is also in a dilemma. After a long time of thinking, the beautiful face suddenly rises a bit of beauty. I want to be alone. Qinya Dun's eyes were full of curiosity. The flower on the street was smiling and speechless, and then walked out. You look good here carefully. Don't let others see it. I'll see her in person. If Qinya is here at this time, I can't imagine that the person Mo Shanghua said is not someone else, but Nanha. At that time, Nanha didn't make up, but simply pulled his hair. He was wearing loose and comfortable robes, but his appearance was no less beautiful. On the contrary, it added a bit of lazy beauty. I didn't expect you to ask for my day. South crane lips slightly hook up, delicate chin slightly raised, is still that arrogant appearance. The difference is that it is less sharp than before. Mo Shanghua did not retort, but admitted frankly, I'm asking for your help. Do you really want to help me? South crane see Mo Shanghua admit so calm, in the heart poor also surprised. After a pause, she began to smile again. However, the smile seemed sad and envious. Lord, if I can have a woman like you as my companion, I won't lose completely. The Lord is a person worthy of trust. I hope you love me and I will walk out of it completely. I wish you all the best. The flowers on the street smile and smile gently and generously. You are not the thing in the pool. If you can get away from it, you will meet someone who loves you in the future. Believe me. South crane also pursed lips to smile. The tone is free and easy at will. So, then along with fate. Nanha did what he said, and soon prepared a safe place for her, and soon sent her in person. Just, if Mo Shanghua knows in the future that the charming jade is looking for the flower Qianlu, what will she think? She should be more thankful that thanks to the indirect help of Nan He, Yan Beiqing was saved from eating. After solving the problem of setting up the charming jade for the time being, Mo Shanghua can't take care of other things, and is addicted to the matter of transforming the form and dispersing the body. He doesn't sleep and makes a less harmful substitute. Yan Beiqing, on the other hand, didn't know what kind of means he used. He seldom went to the Yanhuluxiang these days. Instead, he went to the palace every day to greet the Empress Dowager, which aroused her pity. He sighed that he had lived in Yuzhou since he was a child and had never seen the style of the imperial city, so he stayed in Yuzhou for 2 more months. Although Baorong Emperor was not happy about this, he did not say much because of the Empress Dowager's face. And Yen Mo Li this side, facial expression but thoroughly gloomy come down. Although he only had Baorong Emperor's idea, he was uneasy in the end and accelerated the progress of the plan. In the Hall of Nourishing the Heart, Emperor Baorong rubbed his eyebrows and looked tired. Master, I don't know if you have developed any new pills recently. I'm very tired these days. I feel that my body is not as good as before. The national master nodded slightly, covered his eyes with long eyelashes, took out a brocade box from his sleeve, and said, This is the Qingxin pill developed in combination with the local way of self-cultivation in the West. You can clear your heart and concentrate after taking it. In front of the emperor's eyes, he asked Lu Weng to present it. Almost at the moment when Lu Weng just got the pill, he took it out and took it. He had no doubt or hesitation. Obviously, he had great trust in the national teacher in front of him. However, when he just took the pill, his face was still a little comfortable, but his face was wrinkled, but he turned around and stretched slightly, and his face was not very happy. I think I used to take too many pills. At this time, I don't think they have any effect. I don't know what's in his mind. he suddenly blurted out. Seeing this, the national master's brow condensed for a moment. In a blink of an eye, he returned to the original state with a calm expression. I have found many other prescriptions during my trip to many countries. I will study them carefully when I go back today, so as to develop a more effective pill for your majesty. I hope your majesty will wait patiently. Emperor Baorong nodded slightly with a happy face. The national teacher knows my heart very well. I will feel grateful. After a pause, he couldn't help asking again. I don't know if the national master has found out something about the art of longevity. The national master pondered for a moment, and then said, Your Majesty does not know something. There must be many criticisms and inappropriate points in the process of the art of longevity. I have to think more about it before I can start. Thanks to the teacher. There was some disappointment in Baorong Emperor's eyes, but he didn't dare to ask more questions. Your Majesty, if there is nothing else, I will go back to the government first. The national teacher bent slightly to salute and prepared to go back to the mansion. Baorong immediately nodded. The national teacher turned around and left. At the moment of turning around, his lips slightly and indisputably lifted up a radiance of sarcasm, but at the same time, he recovered as usual without any abnormality. After the national master left, the emperor's eyes were a bit gloomy and said in a deep voice, The national master is more and more useless now. I can't do the same thing that I told him, not to mention the skill of longevity, even the most common skill of self-cultivation. It's really useless. Lu Wen quickly held the tea and opened his mouth with a smile. All the wrinkles on his face were crowded together. Your Majesty, since ancient times, which emperor was not looking for the art of longevity, but if this art of longevity was so simple, I would not know what it would be like in this world. Baorong Emperor didn't open his mouth. He took a sip of the tea. The warm and sweet tea filled his mouth. Then he felt a little more comfortable. Well, although I'm not as healthy as before, I can still afford to wait. In Lu Wang's eyes, Tong Ren turned slightly and suddenly said, Didn't your Majesty welcome the son of the Wuxian family into the palace a few days ago? The witches and fairies are famous for their magic. Why don't your Majesty call him to ask? Baorong Emperor's face sank a little but said, Do you think I can't think of this place? But I called him a few days ago, but he pretended to be profound and unpredictable. So far, I haven't been able to find out his background, and I don't know whether the rumor is true or false. Lu Wang laughed meaningfully. Your Majesty, why are you confused? If an expert is willing to show his hand easily, he can't be regarded as an expert. I don't believe him. They have come here specially this time, but they haven't refused your invitation. The purpose will be simple. How do you say that? Baorongdi was a little interested. He put down his teacup and listened carefully. Seeing this, Lu Wang felt a little proud. Even if he talked about it with a high voice, in the past years, the Witch Fairy clan didn't send people out, but which one, like this year, not only sent so many disciples, but also their holy son. What's more, in previous years, they just went away after congratulation and never sent gifts. This year, although they didn't send gifts, they really stayed. As for the reason why they didn't send gifts, it was because they had a precept that they should not easily take out the things of the clan. Therefore, they only gave oral blessing at most. Baorong Emperor listened to Lu Wang's analysis and thought about it again and again in his heart. He could not help nodding thoughtfully. In that case, Lu Wang, you are going to the temple of the holy son of Xuanwu Fairy. Thinking of Lu Wang's analysis, he ordered him to go on, just to see Ning Tongji soon. Lu Wang is busy to answer next. The foot distance extremely quickly rushed to. Not long after that, Ning Tongji went to the hall under the leadership of Lu Wang. The difference is that this time he did not come alone, but also brought in more than a dozen Wuxian people who accompanied him. When Emperor Baorong saw this, he had a vague guess in his heart, but he didn't make it clear directly. He pretended to be confused and said, What does the sun mean? Rather noticed smell, a little smile, said, Since I am grateful to your Majesty these days for our care and hospitality, special thanks. Baorong Emperor leaned forward slightly, and his face was curious. I heard that the Wuxian clan had a precept. People in the clan should not take things out of the clan without authorization. I don't know how the Holy Sun would thank you. Your Majesty, just look. Rather no face smile not to reduce, quite some mysterious mouth. In this way, not only Baorong Emperor, but also Lu Wang is particularly curious. Rather no to see, just turn to the side of Xue Zufan charged, and then get away from the body. Xue Shuang went down, and then other women of the same clan, a total of 12, lined up, saluted Emperor Baorong. None of them had anything to carry, but now they each produced a sword out of thin air. Before Lu Wang had time to exclaim, their swords changed into wooden swords. Baorong Emperor's eyes were filled with excitement. He held his breath and looked at His Royal Highness's 12 women. Next, she just prepared an ordinary sword dance. However, this is not an ordinary sword dance. These beautiful-looking women sometimes soar into the air, but they are different from the lightness skills of martial arts practitioners. They can not only soar into the air, but also walk on the ground as if they were walking normally in the air, which is almost unprecedented. There are 2 more women in the beginning. They do not know where to transform into a guqin, a long shao, and then accompanied. The music is melodious and graceful, just like fairy music. And the saber on those women's hands also changed into soft and elegant silk with the change of their music. After a song, everyone flew down, and the soft ribbon turned into a picture scroll. A picture of peace and prosperity slowly unfolds on the scroll. I wonder if Your Majesty is satisfied with this? Ning knew that he was not surprised by the shock of all the people present. He turned his eyes and looked at Baorong Emperor, who had not come back. Baorong Emperor was able to recover himself, and walked down from the dragon chair with an excited face. Wonderful, wonderful. I've seen folk magic before, but it's the first time I've seen such a fantastic and mysterious transformation. I've never heard of it, never seen it. Rather no slightly drooping eyes, smile of modesty, but carving insects small skill, it is to let Your Majesty laugh. If these are just small skills, is not our kingdom useless? When Baorong Emperor heard the speech, he was secretly and even more frightened. Rather no, but just smile, but not language. The bottom of the eyes micro can't check over a faint light. Princess, it said that the son of the witch fairy clan showed his hand in the palace yesterday. His Majesty is very happy and has given many things to him. He still needs to be appointed as an official. Qinya looked at the moment rare to rest down on the flower, can't help but quietly. On the street flower smell speech, on the face scent have no accident also, this matter early in expect. Qinya Dun's face was curious, how can it be expected? Mo Shanghua looks up at Qinya helplessly, puts her things aside for a while, and says, I'd rather know that if I don't want to stay here, I won't stay in the palace for so many days. You have to taste many things carefully. Qinya nodded thoughtfully, then suddenly surprised and said, it said that this holy son really knows fairy art. Everyone who saw his performance said that he was strange, and they didn't know what kind of fairy art it was. Princess, do you think that if he really knows magic, it will threaten the position of the national master? The flower on the street looked down at the herbs on the table. The color of her eyes was slightly deep. Naturally, that Ningji is Yen Moli's weapon to balance the national master. However, it is not easy to overthrow the national master who has been standing on the court for 5 years. When Qinya heard the words, he suddenly opened his mind. But for a moment he seemed to think of something and put on a layer of doubt. But in that case, why did he join our team and walk with us for so many days? Mo Shanghua eyelashes droop and took herbs in the hands of the preparation in order to cover up the eyes of the cold, maybe just a coincidence. There are some things that Qinya should know little about. Qinya frowned slightly, as if she didn't agree. But seeing the flowers on the street like this, she didn't ask any more. She always talks a lot. She doesn't want to talk about it, so she can't help talking about other things. Since the Lord went back to the palace a few days ago, he seldom went back to the palace these days. He was colder to the princess than when he was in Yuzhou. He has his own business to be busy, and now I'm here, the thing in hand is the most important thing. Yen Moli invited Ning Tongji to be such a strong enemy. Yen Beiqing must be in a bit of a mess at the moment. He must be trying to deal with it. He has to be busy running around in the Empress Dowager's palace. Where can he come to see her? At present, it is the most important thing for her to develop this medicine to relieve Yen Beiqing's pain. And after that, she naturally has her own things to do. Lu Qianqian designs to frame her many times, and it's time for her to repay. Thinking about it, she could not help but evoke a slightly sarcastic radiance. Qinya looked at the flowers on the street with such an expression. She shivered slightly in her heart. Mo Shanghua's expression is the most clear. She thinks that someone has offended the princess again. She can't help but mourn for that person in her heart. At night, Mo Shanghua quietly went to Yen Beiqing's bedroom alone. In recent days, Yanbei City seldom went back to the mansion. It was very quiet in the bedroom, and the needles could be heard. I have something to tell you. Come out. She looked around the quiet, dark room, and then spoke slowly. As soon as the voice fell, Mo Ling suddenly came out from the dark and leaned slightly towards her, but did not give a big gift, princess. Seeing this, Mo Shanghua took out a porcelain vase from his sleeve and said, I've worked hard to develop it for many days. I know he's very busy today, so I entrust you to give it to him. Remember, hand it to him. Mo Ling took the porcelain bottle, but did not move. I do not know the princess. What is this thing? Mo Shanghua did not give you more explanation, but said, he will understand when he sees it. Mo Ling should come down, toward the flower arch hand line a gift, and then again in the dark. He just went out, the hind foot then suddenly appeared again, attracted the flower face do surprised. How do you go back? Before Mo Ling could explain, Yen Beiqing, dressed in black, suddenly appeared behind her, holding the small porcelain vase she had just given to Mo Ling. It happened to be. He strode in, then told Marine to go out, and he strode over. How did you come back? The flower on the street twists its eyebrows slightly, with doubts on its face. Yan Beiqing pulled her over, no longer joking as usual, just said, I have something to ask you to help. Then he took out a brocade box from his sleeve and opened it. Under the bright yellow brocade cloth in the brocade box were several snow-white pills, which looked different from ordinary pills. Mo Shanghua picked up one with suspicion, put it on the tip of his nose, sniffed it gently, closed his eyes slightly, felt it for a while, and then said, Is this a pill for peace of mind? Yen Beiqing said nothing, indicating that she was looking. Seeing this, Mo Shanghua knew that her guess was wrong. She simply crushed the pill in her hand, and then carefully considered it at the end of her nose. Her eyebrows sometimes frowned and sometimes stretched. A moment later, she seemed unable to distinguish, so she twisted some to be sent to the entrance to distinguish. Seeing this, Yen Beiqing grabbed her hand and frowned. This thing is not for ordinary people. His words are like the top of his head. Let Mo Shanghua's originally frowning brow suddenly stretch out and say, What's mixed in here? Yen Beiqing nodded slightly in her suspicious eyes and said, These are all the things that the emperor has been serving all the year round. I'm just following the methods of the former national teacher and improving them. No one can find them except you. Mo Shanghua just stretched his brow and frowned again. The method of the former national teacher? Yen Beiqing nodded slightly and explained in a low voice. Although Baorong Emperor is usually shrewd, he is very persistent in this matter, and even delusions of immortality. At this point, his eyes could not help but feel a bit ironic. I don't know where there is any art of immortality in the world. The former national master knew that he could not please him gradually, so he simply took the sword and mixed some poisonous cherry grass into the refined pill. It's the most addictive. Although it's very pleasant to take, if it goes on like this, it will only make the body empty gradually. After I managed to get rid of the national teacher, I got this prescription from him and ordered Lu Zheng to improve it. That's how it looks today. In this way, today's Baorong Emperor is afraid that he has already been strong on the outside and strong in the middle. And this poisonous cherry grass must have the same effect as the drugs of the 21st century. It's normal that the medical skills of this era are backward and the imperial doctors can't find out. Mo Shanghua nodded slightly and looked clear. Now you take it to me, but what's wrong? Is it difficult for Nanning to know what he found? Think of here, her eyes' colors suddenly nervous. Yen Beiqing quickly took her hand and gently comforted her, saying, "No, it's just that Emperor Baorong is more and more greedy. He thinks the medicine is not enough, and he often asks me about the method of longevity. Naturally, I can't find any method of longevity, so I can only work hard on it. If not, Emperor Baorong would hate me. At that time, I will be short of a sharp weapon. Where is Lu Zheng? I've sent for it." Mo Shanghua nodded slightly and wiped the crumbs of Dan pills with a handkerchief. Then she said, "I know what you mean. It's a coincidence that I've come into contact with similar things before. If you can get the poisonous cherry grass, I can start to study and improve it. You can rest assured." She didn't ask why Yen Beiqing could do harm to his father, but simply agreed to his request, which moved Yen Beiqing's heart. After a moment's hesitation, he asked, "Don't you think I'm terrible?" "What terrible place is there?" Mo Shanghua takes out a pill in the brocade box and gives the rest back to him. He doesn't care much. Yen Beiqing's thin lips gently pulled out a radiance of self-mockery. "Even his father can do harm, isn't it terrible?" Mo Shanghua raised his head and looked at him seriously. "If Lu Bohan is harming me once, I will not be soft-hearted to him." It suddenly occurred to Yen Beiqing that they were all the same miserable people. Although they were relieved, they also felt sad. As everyone knows, his situation is just afraid that the flowers on the street can't catch up. Baorong Emperor is his own father. He always has some expectations, not like the flower on the street. He never regards Lu Bohan as his father. Naturally, he will not have any sadness. He is also the mood of the original owner, which has nothing to do with the flower on the street. If you don't kill him, it's just a temporary blood relationship. Mo Shanghua knows that she doesn't have much time to stay in the capital, but some things can only be done step by step. Although Lu Qianxian is easy to move, it's not easy to use her to pull Yen Moli into the water. What's more, although she had the trump card of Charming Jade, there was still a lack of evidence in the past. At this time, she had something else to do. In the past, those ladies were reluctant to attend the banquet, but today, she took Qinya with her. For nothing else, just for the host of the banquet, Lin Xiangyin, the eldest granddaughter of the Marquis in the East. Lin Xiangyin's banquet naturally attracted many people, except Lu Qianxian. Moreover, even if Lu Qianxian wanted to come, she would not invite her. Mo Shanghua knows in her heart that she and Lu Qianxian have a personal grudge. Inviting herself is just a hindrance to the Empress Dowager's recent love for Yanbei City. As a result, the ladies who had treated her coldly last time were flattered. If she was in Yuzhou, Mo Shanghua would still do drama, but at this time, she would not even do drama. She just sat at the table with a cold face and no one would answer. Others are to avoid but not anxious, but Lin Xiangyin does not know why, extremely interested in coming together. "Princess, how a person here?" Mo Shanghua glanced at her, but just glanced at her and didn't answer. Lin Xiangyin was not annoyed either. She sat down beside her and said curiously, "I haven't seen you before. In the past, although you didn't behave like Lu Qianxian, you were gentle and tight. How come you seem to be a different person now?" After a pause, she seemed to think of something and sneered, "Is it because now that she is a princess, she feels superior and doesn't have to talk to us?" So humiliating words export. Mo Shanghua's face is still calm. A pair of secluded pupil is as calm as the pool under the deep well without wave. If you suffer great change, how can you remain unchanged? Lin Xiangyin was a little stunned. She couldn't help thinking of the encounter of flowers in the street. Her eyes flashed and she took the initiative to hold up the wine cup. "I forgot that the princess was also the victim of Lu Qianxian. I think she is also a poor man." Next to the dinner, a noble girl heard her say so, quickly gently pulled her sleeve. "Sister Lin, you can't talk nonsense. That thing is your majesty's holy judgment. How can it be a frame-up? You can't be bewitched by others." But Lin Xiangyin turned her lips and disdained. "Lu Qianxian's plain clothes are weak, but in fact she is the most scheming. I just can't stand her." Seeing this, Emo Shanghua seemed to be interested. She said quietly, "She has a good reputation in the imperial city. Even the queen is very fond of her. How can you see that she is not good?" Lin Xiangyin snorted coldly, and her pretty face was full of jealousy. "That slut looks gentle, but who doesn't know that he is in love with Ling Wang's elder brother, and often goes to the queen's palace to offer hospitality? Doesn't he want to marry Ling Wang's elder brother, so it's not a trick?" The flower in the street, however, began to smile and said, "Miss Lin, I think you are also in love with Ling Wang?" Lin Xiangyin's pretty face suddenly turned red. She was extremely shy. You don't talk nonsense." The flower on the street saw this, but the front of the words suddenly turned, and her voice was slightly cold. "If Lu Qianqian, he must be shy and timid at this time. You dare not even admit it. How can you imagine that Ling Wang will be happy with you? You bullshit." Lin Xiangyin's face turned red when she heard the speech. She couldn't help refuting, "My cousin is always the best to me. He always ignores that bitch." "Oh." Emo Shanghua nodded lightly and mended the knife impolitely. "You know, he is a cousin, so he is so good to you." Lin Xiangyin immediately stood up and pointed to the flowers in the street. "You are really deceiving people. Princess you are not welcome here. Please go back to your house." No one thought that the situation would come to such a state. People in the factory were stunned for a long time, and then no one advised them. On the contrary, most of them were watching jokes. Qinya did not expect that Emo Shanghua would deliberately enrage Lin Xiangyin. Seeing that her princess was about to lose face, she looked at Emo Shanghua and said, "Princess, what should I do?" Emo Shanghua stood up with an indifferent face, as if she was not the one who had swept her face. "I dare not even face the facts. In my opinion, you have no hope of marrying the person in your heart in this life. You only deserve to see Lu Qianqian's complacency." Finish saying, then turn round and go directly. Complexion is still indifferent, more show a bit free and easy indifferent, don't see a scent in a hurry. Lin Xiangyin looked at the back of Huasha on the street, completely stunned. "Princess, why on earth did you do that? How can you carry out your plan?" On the carriage, Qinya wiped the cold sweat that just came out and couldn't help saying, "Emo Shanghua just smiles and doesn't intend to explain. Think about it for yourself, and then ask me." That's right. From the very beginning, she pretended to be like that in order to attract Lin Xiangyin's attention. But later all sorts of is only observes Lin Xiangyin's disposition, intentionally for it. Now, it's up to her whether she will continue to bite. Emo Shanghua turns to see Qinya, who is still thinking hard, and his lips start to smile. "Lu Qianqian, you should keep this gift." This thought only took a turn in her mind. The stable carriage suddenly shook. In front of her, there came the roar of horses, the sound of horses' hooves rubbing against the ground, and the sound of the crowd gradually gathering around. For the first time, Qinya lifted the curtain and jumped down from the carriage to check the situation. Seeing this, she did not get off the carriage and sat in the carriage waiting for the situation. After a while, Qinya came back with a complicated face. She muttered for a long time and then said, "Princess, our carriage has collided with the carriage in the palace. The person you hit is." Later, she did not say anything. "You know I don't like people who stammer the most," he said. "We have run into Prince 13's carriage. Now Prince 13 is in front of it." Qinya took a breath and simply finished. The flower on the road was slightly lung for a while. After a while, she said slowly, "Go down and accompany me." As he spoke, he got out of the carriage first. At that time, standing in front of the carriage, who was Yen Zhenchuan, who described the thin and mild-looking man. On the banquet that day, Emo Shanghua just glanced at him, and Yen Zhenchuan also deliberately avoided it. Now, it seems that they met for the first time after returning to the city. Yen Zhenchuan's eyes gently stayed on the beautiful cheek of Emo Shanghua, and his lips gently pulled up a smile. It turned out to be Huang Sa. Once upon a time, he could not shout out the two words, but now he said them calmly. Since Emo Shanghua confessed to him, He decided that the past should be abandoned. At this time, he would not be entangled in this title. The flower in the street was also slightly stunned for a moment, and then nodded to him as if he had realized, "It's my carriage that bumped into your highness. Please don't be strange." Yen Zhenxuan was still smiling, as if the warm spring breeze was blowing his face. "Huang Sa is serious. According to reason, it should be me who should let Huang Sa be." Between speaking, between the throat and light itch up, habitual cover lip light cough. However, the cough was much heavier than usual, and it took a long time to recover as usual. "Your Highness is seriously ill again?" Mo Shanghua asked subconsciously, with worries hidden in her eyes. Previously, he was the best to himself, and she naturally took great care of him. Yen Zhenxuan saw through her concern in her eyes, and felt extremely warm in her heart. Lao Huang's sister-in-law thought about it. "Last time I left Yuzhou, I had a minor illness on the way back, and it's only now." The young man behind him saw this, but he was not satisfied. He couldn't help saying, "What's a minor disease? That disease almost cost His Highness half his life, and it hasn't fully recovered." What a mouthful! When Yen Zhenxuan heard the speech, he could not help turning his head and yelling. However, his gentle and soft nature, in how fierce look, also can't frighten people. The little guy was not scared at all, just not angry. "Shut up. On the street flower hears, can't help silence down, haven't spoken for a long time. So it's because of her." Seeing that they seemed to have a lot to say, Chinya simply suggested, "Your Highness is not in good health. There is a tea house over there. Why don't we go to the inner room and call for a hot tea and talk about it in detail?" Mo Shanghua nodded. In the heart already born must help Yen Zhenxuan cure idea. Yen Zhenxuan is most considerate of other people's face, since will not brush her face, can only follow. Into the tea house, the second on the hot tea, two people have not yet opened their mouths, but there is a bright light man's voice came in. "Small Mo flower, really didn't expect, we so predestined relationship, is to arrive at the imperial city, also can so happen to meet by chance." It took a while for the man to come in and lift the curtain of Yejian. He was dressed in the red clothes of Sa Bao, and his forehead was decorated with the same color that is popular in the imperial city today, which makes his face look like jade. The flower on the street saw the visitor, and her eyebrows twitched subconsciously. "Hua Qianlu, aren't you in Yuzhou?" A red dress of flower willow, holding the usual folding fan, very familiar in the side, sat down. "Also ignore the flowers, smile to Yen Zhenxuan. I think this is the 13 prince. In the next flower willow, nice to meet you." Although Yen Zhenxuan didn't know this person, seeing that he seemed to be acquainted with Mo Shanghua and so familiar with him, he also gave a smile. "Nice to meet you." Flower willow smile is very brilliant, and turned to look at the flowers on the street. "Small Mo flower, you can really not authentic, alone to the imperial city, also don't know will I say." Mo Shanghua looked at him with a smile, and said suspiciously, "It's not strange that I came here, but you. How can you suddenly come to the imperial city?" "I'm a businessman, so I have to travel all over the world to do business. What's so strange about coming to the imperial city?" Hua Qianlu shrugged, sat down and said with a smile, "Besides, this tea house is also my industry." Mo Shanghua was not surprised by his words, and didn't want to quarrel with him. He simply turned his head and looked at Yen Zhenxuan, with a smile of apology. "This man is the most naughty. Don't blame him, Your Highness." Yen Zhenxuan pulled out a smile on his morbid face and said in a mild tone, "It's not in the way. Besides, a free and easy person like young Master Hua is also my favorite." Speaking of this, his face could not control the depression, and his eyes showed some yearning. He was born with such a body. He can't be as free and easy as ordinary people, let alone flowers and willows. I don't know how envious he is. The flowers in the street can't help being silent. I don't know how to comfort them. I thought that Hua Qianlu would also be wise to skip this topic, but he didn't want to. He just raised his head and laughed, and his face was full of relaxed color. "Your Highness, what's the difficulty of being ordinary? Isn't that a miracle doctor in front of you?" Yen Zhenxuan just suddenly brightened up his eyes, slightly stained with bitterness. My body is born to change. I have not reported any hope for a long time. I still don't have to worry about Lao Huang's sister-in-law. If it can, how it doesn't want to be well treated. Mo Shanghua also mentioned it to her, but how can he not know it? It's just like Arabian Nights. That's all. That's it. Mo Shanghua saw that his face was full of frustration, and he couldn't bear it. Although I can't take care of your body completely, I can help you relieve the pain, at least better than today's state. Hua Qianlu Mingming was not familiar with him, but he also repeatedly comforted him. It's better to live than to die. It's so simple and reasonable. Don't your highness know it? Yen Zhenxuan shook his head with a bitter smile, stood up, and looked at the flowers in the street with his eyes. I know you are in a difficult situation in the imperial city, but I am weak and can't help you. You are so difficult now, how can I drag you down? Sorry, I don't feel well. I have to go back to the palace. Goodbye. Said he would not refuse to turn first. Although the back is thin, it is still tall and straight. Mo Shanghua sighs in her heart, knowing that Yen Zhenxuan just doesn't want to trouble her. But in the end is some distressed, such a gentle and modest prince. Hua Qianlu saw the flowers on the street and sighed. It said that the third prince can't live beyond 25 years old. I didn't believe it before, but now it's really sad. Mo Shanghua turned his head and said, Hua Qianlu, you are here specially. Isn't it really just a chance encounter? Flower Thousand Willow immediately comforts sigh, howl away, really hide your eyes. Then he raised his hand, took out a small porcelain vase from his arms, and raised it to the hand of Mo Shanghua. Lu Zheng and I went together. He knew the situation of Beiqing, and his mind was active. He had long expected that there would be such a day, so he asked me to bring it to you first, and asked me to give it to you. He was afraid that he was far away and could not know the situation of the imperial city at any time, so he asked the stranger to spend time to check it carefully. How could he get caught? Mo Shanghua Jie took the porcelain bottle and asked suspiciously, Flower Thousand Willow Long Eyebrow Tiny Pick, do you think he Lu Zheng has no enemy? Mo Shanghua nodded slightly and put away the porcelain vase. When Hua Qianlu saw that she looked cold, she couldn't help coming up again. He is a doctor, and he always does good things to save the world. You don't wonder what enemy did he meet? Mo Shanghua heard him say so, and there was no fluctuation on his calm and indifferent face. You will always help him settle down. What's the use of talking to me about this? Lu Zheng is now an ordinary doctor on the surface, but he is Yen Beiqing's right-hand assistant on the surface. His father once gave his life to save Yen Beiqing's mother and son. Because of this, Yen Beiqing will surely protect him. Hua Qianlu knew that she was not interested in the flowers on the street, but she could not help saying, Do you remember Wu Cheng who was calculated by you before? His brother Wu Ru recently went to the kingdom of God to run a business. Lu Zheng met their caravan. Unfortunately, although Wu Cheng is dead, his servants are still there. Someone who knows Lu Zhengji tells Wu Ru that Wu Ru designs a frame up to avenge Wu Cheng, who has been dead for some time. Now Lu Yui is detained by them for a while and can't get away from him. Lu Zheng was implicated in the disaster he caused at the beginning because of his own reason. He felt guilty in the flower heart of the stranger. What's the situation now? Did they start with Dr. Lu? Seeing that she was finally interested, Hua Qianlu pretended to smile mysteriously and said for a moment, This is the kingdom of God. Imperial Dr. Lu is the imperial doctor in the palace. Naturally, they dare not take it seriously. That's good. The flowers on the street just let go, but in my heart I'm sorry. In the heart is already secretly vigilant. When Wu Ru came to the imperial city, she had a deep festival with him. She must be careful. It's getting late. Mo Shanghua took a look at the sky outside the window and suddenly stood up. Wait a minute. Flower Qianlu busy holding a folding fan hand horizontal, blocking the way of flowers on the street. Small Mo Flower so anxious to leave to do what? I can still have words to finish it. Flower steps on the road, looking back slightly pick eyebrows. Hua Qianlu walked slowly in front of her, Little Emma Hua, do you know that you still owe me a favor? The flower eyes on the street are full of doubts. Before they open their mouth, they listen to the cold female voice outside the wing room. Hua Qianlu, I owe you the favor. Don't involve others. Mo Shanghua turns to the owner of the voice and sees that Nan he has replaced the jewelry he used to replace when he was a concubine in the palace. Luo Kun has a big sleeve and simply wears his hair in a bun. He is still wearing comfortable military clothes, but his face is delicate and beautiful. His delicate chin is slightly raised and his body is full of pride and sharpness. It's the first time for Mo Shanghua to see such a crane. He suddenly feels that his eyes are bright and his lips are slightly bent. Nanha, who is not persistent in love, is really shining. The South Crane seems to see the amazing look of the flowers on the street, showing a little pride and self-confidence. You should have known, I never lose you. The flowers on the street couldn't help laughing and exclaimed, it's better than me. Seeing this, Hua Qianlu was surprised and looked around them in circles. When you two are still talking like this, I just think that you want to kill several rounds as soon as you meet. Mo Shanghua eyebrows and eyes slightly contain a little smile, not a bit annoyed. The world is changeable, and it is you and I can guess. She had never thought of making friends with Nan He. Nanha, who has abandoned her love, is really shining. She feels that she loves each other, and so is Nanha. They naturally hit it off. The South Crane really frowned and swept over with a bad look. The dog can't spit out ivory. Hua Qianliuden yelled, full of grievances, I used to help you a lot. Last time, I helped you. How can you say that to me? Nanha's face didn't change, but his voice was like broken ice. Don't talk nonsense. Last time I asked you for help, don't rely on others. Hua Qianlu was always very quiet and continued to talk about him. I said, Nanha, you were not like this before. In the past, you spoke so gently and politely to me, but now you have become a different person. South Crane eyebrows slightly twitch, some unbearable. Shut up. Once upon a time, it was not because of Yanbei City. Now she has abandoned the past, but Hua Qianlu mentioned it again and again, which is no different from beating her face. Mo Shanghua was confused and couldn't help interrupting a little. What's the matter how? For a while, Nen he owes you, and for a while, he records it on me. Before he could open his mouth, Hua Qianlu explained, he sent a girl to me some time ago and asked me to find a safe place for her. He said it was to help you, so I should go. In this way, or look at the flowers on the surface, not because of their own? South Crane face color suddenly black a few minutes. The complexion is not good of stare at him. If not Lord have something to order, I definitely don't with you this shrewd skin say more. Flower willow is not to be outdone. People are born well, but it's a pity that the mouth is so poisonous, it's really unpleasant. The South Crane brow immediately tightly screwed up. The flower in the street couldn't get in for a moment. After standing beside him for a long time, he saw that they had not stopped, so he quietly left. He had another plan in mind. He would like to thank both of them. He would like to thank them later when he has time. Nanha in particular asks Hui Qianliu for help for her own business. At first glance, she looks down on Hui Qianliu, but she is willing to ask Hui Qianliu for help, which shows her sincerity. After Mo Shanghua went back, he carefully checked the medicine in the porcelain vase and added some neutralizing substances in it, which made the medicine more secret, and then asked Mo Ling to give it to Yan Beiqing. At that time, Baorong Emperor was already dazzled by the endless fairy art of Ning Tongji, and his trust in him became stronger and stronger, gradually surpassing that of the national master. Nai Hening knew that he had never taught him the magic, and he didn't take out a pill to take for him, which made the position of the national master a little stable. Lu Zheng's bottle of medicine arrived in time. There is also a plan in my heart. I've been staying in the mansion these days, and Aunt Zhang has stopped for a while. The mansion is more peaceful. In his spare time, Mo Shanghua will continue to study the so-called Qingxin pill and Jian pill, and so on. In addition, he will also take a look at the ancient ways of recuperation about the deficiency from time to time. On this day, Mo Shanghua was taking a medical book to check the side effects of the poisonous cherry grass. Suddenly, a maid came in and said, "Tell the princess, Miss Lin, who is in the east of the waiting house, has sent a letter saying that she wants to see you." The flowers on the street were shining slightly, but they didn't show anything on their face. "I'm an outsider, and I'm not welcome by the queen. How can I help you? Miss Lin, you'd better find someone else." Although she has such a mind, if she agrees too quickly, doesn't she seem to be very utilitarian? Naturally, we have to refuse first. Lin Xiangyin is really eager to get up, busy holding the hand of Mo Shanghua. "Sister Mo, I really can't help it. I'm afraid that after a long time, the queen's aunt will be bewitched by her. Once I get married, I will never have a chance again." Mo Shanghua smells speech, frowned thought for a while, just helpless loose mouth. But this matter, you must not reveal to anyone no, but if someone asks, you can only say is your own idea. Lin Xiangyin nodded her head like garlic. Seeing this, the flower sat up straight and looked straight at Lin Xiangyin. "How dare you ask Miss Lin, your Royal Highness Ling Wang, and the Empress, what do you think?" Lin Xiangyin blushed, lowered her head and shook her head in a very low voice. I'm shy in my heart, and I'm afraid my cousin won't like it, so I dare not mention it in front of the queen's aunt." Such a little girl's gesture made me feel a little sigh in my heart. After pondering for a while, I suddenly said, "Miss Lin, do you really want to marry your Royal Highness Ling Wang? Won't you regret it?" Originally very shy, Lin Xiangyin raised her face slightly and nodded her head naively. "I've been longing for my cousin for many years, and I won't regret it anyway." The flowers on the street are silent. She suddenly felt that it was cruel to take advantage of such a simple woman. If she knew Yen Moli's true face one day, how sad she would be. Well, since she really likes it, she only takes it as a way to help her. "Sister Mo? Why don't you talk? Don't you have a way?" When Lin Xiangyin thought of this place, she felt a little nervous. Mo Shanghua shakes her head, gets up and walks to Lin Xiangyin's side. She bends down slightly and lowers her voice. Lin Xiangyin first showed curiosity, then brightened her eyes, with a kind of shy and coquettish smile on her lips. Lin Xiangyin could not wait for the way to get flowers. She went to the palace the next morning to see the queen. As soon as she saw Lin Xiangyin, Empress Lin would smile and withdraw all the others, leaving only 2 maidservants to serve her. Seeing no one, Lin Xiangyin removed the unfamiliar name with a smile. Ying said with a smile, "Aunt Einer hasn't talked with you for a while." Empress Lin is very tolerant to the pure-minded Lin Xiangyin, and she also likes her appearance. Her usual modesty and strictness has disappeared long ago, leaving only a gentle smile. "It's not you who have no conscience, and you don't often come to the palace to see your aunt." "Yes, it's Einer's not. In the future, Einer will often accompany her in the palace." Lin Xiangyin blinked playfully, then suddenly said, "Aunt, Einer heard that the emperor is going to marry Li Biao?" Empress Lin nodded slightly. Lear, a child who had been unwilling to make a decision a few years ago, if he was old this year, he would not, and His Majesty would consider it for him. "This matter has not been stated by our palace or your Majesty." "How do you know?" Lin Xiangyin blushed and turned her head. She did not dare to look at Empress Lin. I just met my cousin Li a while ago. I heard that cousin mentioned it occasionally." Seeing Lin Xiangyin's intention to cover up, Empress Lin didn't blame her. She said tentatively, "Why do you care so much about Lear in Japan Palace?" There was a bit of humor in the words. As usual, Lin Xiangyin must be very shy in her heart and try her best to cover it up, as if it were a shameful scandal. Today, she bit her lip and didn't speak for a long time. Seeing this, Empress Lin moved in her heart and continued to ask, "What's on your mind, Einer? My aunt is as old as you. I think I can understand it. Just talk to my aunt." Lin Xiangyin drooped her head slightly. She kept biting her lips. She took a deep breath for a long time. Then she summoned up her courage and looked up at Empress Lin. The words, which had already gushed to my throat, circled in my mouth a few times, and then slowly spewed out with great difficulty. In fact, I've always admired my cousin in my heart, but I've always been ashamed to say it, for fear of provoking my aunt, father and brother's jokes. To be honest with my aunt, The words, which had already gushed to my throat, circled in my mouth a few times, and then slowly spewed out with great difficulty. In fact, I've always admired my cousin in my heart, but I've always been ashamed to say it, for fear of provoking my aunt, father and brother's jokes. With these words, she blushed and hung her head. She did not dare to see Empress Lin's face. Although she is usually a bit bold, she is particularly shy about her love affair. If not, she would not have to wait until today to be instructed by the stranger. Empress Lin did not have the joy in her imagination. In a flash of time, she thought a little, and was soon replaced by a gentle smile on her face. "You girl with such a mind, why didn't you tell me earlier?" Lin Xiangyin was embarrassed to look up, and her voice became more and more small. "I'm afraid my cousin will alienate me, and I'm afraid you'll laugh at me." Empress Lin smiles gently and lovingly. She takes her hand affectionately, just like her family. Even Lu Qianqian, who often comes to the palace, can't be treated like this. How can that be? I don't have time to be happy. When Lin Xiangyin heard the speech, she felt a little happy in her heart. Then she dared to look up at Empress Lin. However, Empress Lin just looked at the joy and did not mean to open her mouth. Lin Xiangyin suddenly heard the words of flowers on the street in her mind. Her heart was tight, and she simply could not care about her face. She took Queen Lin's hand and said something coquettishly, "I'm also looking forward to serving my aunt day by day, and I hope my aunt can help me make a little mention of it in front of my cousin Li." With the beginning, the following words are not so difficult to say. "My grandfather and father frequently mention marriage to me recently, but in my heart, there is no room for anyone else except Li Biaoge." Her niece adored her son. Naturally, the queen had nothing to say. She laughed and joked. When Lin Xiangyin came out of the house happily, the smile on her lips gradually faded. The maid of honor, Ovai, poured a cup of tea at the right time. Miss Lin's intention to Her Royal Highness is a good thing. Why does the Empress behave like this? After all, Lin Xiangyin has a good family and is also a member of her mother's family. If she has such a daughter-in-law, she will be better controlled and more comfortable than outsiders. Empress Lin had another thought in her heart and sighed. "I thought so, but now Lu Qianqian is also Li Er's favorite." And Lu Qian was the daughter of the prime minister of the dynasty. Naturally, she was worthy of her identity, which would be helpful to Yan Mo Li in the future. Although Lin Xiangyin is also very suitable, after all, it is the queen's mother's home. It is in the support of Yan Mo Li's team, and it has little effect in marrying Lin Xiangyin. However, over the years since she became queen, although her father still cherishes her and helps her in everything, her elder brother has been staying out all the year round and has gradually alienated her. In the future, if her father dies, he may turn the wind and refuse to participate in these disputes. If he marries Lin Xiangyin, he just mends the relationship between brother and sister. But what the prime minister represents is the support of civil servants. For a moment she really wavered. In the heart secretly make up one's mind, call Yan Mo Li tonight. Come and discuss it carefully. Don't mention the queen's entanglement hesitation. Mo Shanghua here already began quietly to prepare another thing. In the elegant room of the most prosperous restaurant in the capital, the flowers on the street and Lu Qianqian sit opposite each other. Their faces are calm, and they don't know whether they are happy or angry. Lu Qianqian's smile of gentle delicate, tried to sit straight body, with the best posture show in the opposite of the flower. Mo Shanghua sees her this appearance, in the heart can't help but secretly funny, but on the face is still indifferent. After a while, she took the lead in breaking the silence by opening her mouth. "It's rare to have time to come out and sit down today. I have an interesting story that I want to talk to Miss Lu." He said, no matter whether Lu Qianqian wanted to hear it or not, he said directly and leisurely, "The Lord always goes to the palace these days." I heard the Empress Dowager say that the Empress Dowager intends to point out the marriage to several princes who have not yet married. Only this sentence, then successfully let Lu Qianqian lips smile slightly done, then more and more expand. The flower on the street saw this, the eye can't help but across a trace of sarcasm, and continued, "You should be very happy in your heart." His face was so cool, but his words were very straightforward. Lu Qianqian's smile could not be suppressed, but he refused to admit, "The prince's marriage means marriage, which has nothing to do with me. What can I be happy about?" The princess can really laugh. Having said that, the proud provocation between the eyebrows and eyes is not deceptive. The flower on the street looked clearly, and continued to speak without laughing, "You don't have to be so artificial in front of me. I know that you are afraid that nature is very happy in your heart. You can't marry King Ling immediately. There is no outsider here. Lu Qianqian doesn't want to pretend to be a concubine." He directly and undisguised provocation smile. "Your Highness King Ling is both civil and military. He is also the adopted son of the Queen. He is deeply loved by your Majesty. He is the same princess in the future. Your identity is very different from mine. You are waiting for me to step on the bottom of your feet." The flower on the street raised her eyes, and the sarcasm on her lips was also undisguised. "I'm afraid that if you can't be Princess Ling, you won't be able to step on my head in this life." Lu Qianqian's beautiful face sank down when he was wrongdoing, coldly coagulating the flowers on the street. "What do you mean by that?" On the cold and beautiful face of the flowers in the street, a smile suddenly appears. The smile is light, but it makes Lu Qianqian feel chilly and more uneasy. "What are you going to do?" she said angrily, biting her teeth. The flower on the street was still silent, just a little smile. "Miss Lu, what are you anxious about? Just drink a cup of tea." Lu Qianqian used to have a good self-control, but at this time, looking at the smiling face of the flowers on the street, he was more and more flustered. He suddenly got up and swept the tea and snacks on the table. Suddenly, there was a sound of broken porcelain in the room. Qinya and Lu Qian, who are guarding outside the box, rush in again today. Miss, what's the matter with you?" The newly promoted maid is still not clear about Lu Qianqian's real temperament. When she sees this trip, she is immediately shocked. After a long time, she asks. Lu Qianqian's mood seemed to be out of control in an instant. His irritability and insecurity came up, and his reason no longer existed. He raised his hand and slapped the servant girl heavily. This slap with full strength, maidservant pain eyes, heart is shocked, unbelievable. Miss is usually the most soft and gentle. She can't speak loudly. How can she do such things? For a moment, I forgot to kneel down and plead guilty. Lu Qianqian was even more irritated. He raised his hand and slapped him hard again. "Bitch, even you dare to give me a look." Two red and swollen fingerprints on the maidservant's face floated on her face, and then she knelt down crying. Qinya watched the scene firmly, her mind suddenly moved, deliberately stepped forward a few steps, deliberately leaning closer to Lu Qianqian, standing beside the girl kneeling and crying with an angry face. "This sister has done nothing wrong. Why did you beat her? In front of our princess, you are so arrogant and arrogant." Before he finished his sentence, he was slapped heavily by Lu Qian, and his white face became red and swollen. Qinya's tears almost fell down. Lu Qianqian sneered and said, "It's not your turn to speak here." Emo Shanghua's smiling eyes suddenly cooled down. She got up and pulled Qinya back to her side. Her voice was as cold as ice. Who are you to teach me? In the final analysis, some people are afraid of being more humble and can't even see the light. Lu Qian's face suddenly changed, a face of solemn guard looking at the flowers. "What do you say?" "I said that some people used to be bedbugs and mice that couldn't be seen in the past, but now even if they were covered with jade, they still couldn't see the light inside. If they were torn down one day, they would be dead." With that, she suddenly stepped forward, and her cold voice sounded in her ear, like the death knell that opened the gate of hell. "Do you really think Yen Moli will marry you? You're just a pawn of him. You can't be the right Princess Ling. As if he had been strangled by the lifeblood, Lu Qian's face suddenly changed, and his face twisted in an instant. Bitch! Suddenly she shrieked, her eyes scarlet as if mad. I'll kill you! With that, she pushed the flower away, hoping to make it fall on the broken porcelain. The flower on the street really did what he wanted. It was really pushed to the ground by her, but it was not hurt by the porcelain. What's more hateful is that she should be in a mess at this time, but she is full of sarcasm. Lu Qianqian's eyes seemed to be looking at a waste. Lu Qianqian's eyes were full of hatred and resentment. He grabbed a piece of porcelain from the ground and rushed to the flowers on the street. In his mouth, Lu Qianqian's venomous shrill voice called out, "Bitch, I will definitely scratch your face today." Qin Yaden was shocked and subconsciously wanted to stop in front of Emo Shanghua. Lu Qianqian's maidservant was pale and trembling, hiding in the corner and did not dare to move. Between lightning and flint, Emo Shanghua pushes Qinya out in an instant and exchanges a look with her, but he does not dodge, so he raises his hand to resist with flesh and blood. Qinya bit her teeth and forced herself not to look. Then she ran out with her skirt in her hand. She was very frightened and cried out, "Come on, Miss Lu is crazy. Miss Lu is crazy." Now Lu Qianqian's eyes are red. As if he can't hear all the words around him, he stabs the arm of Emo Shanghua. Fortunately, the porcelain is not sharp, and several layers of clothes are separated. He just cuts his clothes and the wound only gives some blood. When Lu Qianqian saw the scarlet blood, her eyes became scarlet, her mind was in chaos, and there was only one thought left in her mind. Kill her, kill her. So think, then also continue to hand. The movement in the wing room is not small. It has already attracted people's attention. However, the restaurant is full of dignitaries. The shopkeeper doesn't dare to ask. At the moment, Qinya, who is in a mess, comes out in a panic. All of them are eating in the wing room, and all the people who gather together are out of the room to watch the excitement. Qinya just found the shopkeeper and was about to lead someone in to help Emo Shanghua out. Yan Beiqing didn't walk out of one of the boxes. Seeing her like this, she quickly asked, "Qinya, how can you be here? What are you doing in a hurry?" As soon as Qinya saw that the visitor was Yan Beiqing, Yan Moli and others were standing beside him. His heart jumped. He went straight up to his knees and said with dim tears, "Prince, I can't tell you more. Miss Lu is crazy and wants to take the life of the princess." In a word, everyone's face changed. Even Yen Mo Li's face, who wanted to be happy and angry, suddenly changed. Yenbei City is the most flustered one. At the moment, he doesn't care whether he wants to make a play for others. Almost instantly he pulls Qinya up from the ground. His eyes are cold and panic. Where is it? Yan Beiqing was so powerful that Qinya almost couldn't stand steadily, and she couldn't care much. She quickly stabilized herself and led the way. At that time, Emo Shanghua was covering her right arm to dodge, and there was some blood between her fingers. It was bright red and dazzling. Yan Beiqing felt a sudden pain. At the moment, I don't care much about it. I hurry up and pull the flowers to my back. Yan Moli, who is also gloomy, asks people to come forward and hold Lu Qianqian. Lu Qianqian doesn't know what's wrong with her. She doesn't care who comes up to stop her. She waves all the broken porcelain. The people who come forward have no choice but to knock her out temporarily. Yan Beiqing turned his head. Emo Shanghua's face was slightly white at this time, and the blood in his fingers was still pouring out. Yan Beiqing felt great pain in his heart, as if he had hurt himself. I will never be good about today. All the people saw that Yan Beiqing, who only knew how to talk and laugh in the past, was cold for the first time, and his eyes were gloomy, as if they were about to drip water. Yan Moli's heart naturally will not be happy where to go, but he has nothing to do with Lu Qianqian at the moment. After a little consideration, he came forward and said, "It's not a good thing for Miss Lu to assassinate Princess Yu. Miss Lu is also the girl's home in the waiting room. Don't make it public. If we clean up the mess in the restaurant first, we will make a decision." Everything was expected by Emo Shanghua, But she didn't show it. She just took Yen Beiqing's hand and said, "According to the second emperor brother, I'm afraid that the second emperor brother can't handle this matter at the moment, and it's even worse to make trouble in the yamen. I think it's most just for the empress to handle this matter. When it comes to the queen, it won't be publicized." Yen Mo Li sneers in his heart, but Mo Shanghua is the sufferer. He's just an outsider. There's no reason to shirk. There must be an explanation for this. Thinking of this, he also nodded. Sister-in-law's injury just can also go to the palace to ask the imperial doctor to see. Yen Beiqing looks at Yen Mo with a cold face. He seems to want to say something. At last, he doesn't say anything. He turns his head and looks at the pale flowers on the street. His heart hurts again. It is clear that there is a wound in the arm, but the flowers on the street pull out a smile. She doesn't like to laugh in front of outsiders. Yen Beiqing pursed her lips, picked her up and walked out of the restaurant. Yen Emoli looked at Lu Chanqian, who was lying unconscious on the ground, and the maid who was shrinking. He said faintly, "Help your lady and go into the palace with us." Having said that, he turned his head and asked Sun Jiuai's friends to leave for a while. In the heart is already calculated. Today in Japan, he invited a group of nobility to a banquet. In order to win over, Yen Beiqing came with a thick face. He is not happy, and now it happened again. Lu Chanqian, he can never marry again. The scene just now was not only seen by these dignitaries, but also called out so loudly by Qinya. Not to mention how severely she would be criticized, even her reputation would not be guaranteed. The royal family will never marry a woman with a bad reputation. On the carriage entering the palace, Yen Beiqing carefully lifted his sleeve and looked at the wound of flowers on the street. I saw a scarlet wound on the white and slender arm. The wound was not deep. However, because she had just been away from Lu Chanqian, she didn't listen to the bleeding. Now she stopped bleeding. Yen Beiqing, immediately full of remorse, heartache, "Take out the medicine will help her deal with. I knew you would be like this. I will not depend on you." He was busy for days. A few days ago, he managed to go back to the palace. The flower on the street took him and told him secretly that he would talk with the Empress Dowager to marry Yen Moli and other princes as soon as possible. Then he told me today's plan, but he never thought that the flower in the street would hurt himself. Mo Shanghua smiles faintly and pulls down the sleeve again. "There's no need to apply medicine. This is my best weapon." Yen Beiqing is helpless and distressed, silent for a long time. Silent clenched her hand. "I really don't want to involve you in these fights." His voice is low, showing a strong heartache and helplessness. Mo Shanghua holds his hand with a little effort. "This is my personal resentment with Lu Chanqian. She intended to frame me on the birthday of the Empress Dowager the day before yesterday. Although I saw through it, I was hurt by someone else. I must return to my character 1,000 times. Today is just the beginning." Yen Beiqing didn't speak. He just held his hand tightly, and his eyes became darker. In any case, he didn't protect the flowers. He will always be really strong, will certainly protect her intact, let alone she personally solve the enemy. In the Palace of Cunning, Empress Lin looks at the wave of people who come suddenly. She is stunned at first, and then listens to Yen Moli's description of this matter, and her face can't help sinking. First, I carefully asked Qinya and Lu Chanqian's maidservant, but they were both waiting outside at that time. At this time, I didn't know. The flowers in the street explain themselves. At the moment, she did not have the coldness of the past. She covered her arms with tears in her eyes and knelt down. She choked and said, "My mother, Mingzhen, I used to have a little trouble with Miss Lu, and I broke up with Miss Lu. But Miss Lu has been very nice to me, and I have a heart of reconciliation in my heart. I just didn't think that after I said a few words, Miss Lu got excited and wanted to destroy me. It's my face." Empress Lin looked at Hua Hua's arm stained with blood, slowed down her voice and said, "We have ordered someone to call the imperial doctor. You should go inside to see the wound." The flowers on the street stopped, raised his hand to wipe the tears from the corners of his eyes, got up and left. "Thank you, Empress." Empress Lin, as her own mother, naturally called out to be more sincere. When the flowers left, Empress Lin looked at Yen Mo and said, "Li Er, is Miss Lin awake now?" Yen Mo eyes view nose care, a serious and just mild state. Back to mother, Miss Lin is not awake, but the doctor has just sent the diagnosis. As soon as the words came out, the old man with white hair stepped forward. After the salute, he said, "Tell the Empress that I have seen Miss Lu. Miss Lu is a sudden disease, which is caused by depression in her heart. Once she is stimulated, she will suddenly go insane. She needs long-term rest." The implication is that it's not what she thought, it's just a matter of body? Yen Beicheng frowned and said in a cold voice, "Do you mean that the princess said something that she shouldn't have said, which irritated Miss Lu?" The imperial doctor was shot innocently and quickly knelt down. "I dare not, but I just said according to the truth. If His Royal Highness you does not believe me, I can ask other imperial doctors in the imperial hospital to make a diagnosis again." Yen Beicheng snorted, stepped forward, and arched his hand and said, "My mother, I feel pity for the princess. I'm sincere. Don't say that the princess is kind to her heart. She never says anything that she shouldn't say. That's to say it seriously. Miss Lu's murder and assassination of the princess is also obvious to all. Please ask her mother to make the decision." "Brother Huang, that's not true." Yen Mo suddenly interrupted him, with a face of justice and awe-inspiring. "Miss Lu was framed at the emperor's grandmother's birthday party a while ago. She was depressed and could not be stimulated. If she was sober at that time, how could she be accused?" "What do you mean, Brother Huang? Don't you think you're not guilty if you're insane? In this way, what are the rules of the palace and the laws of the kingdom of God?" There was no smile on Yen Beicheng's face, his cold eyes seemed to contain frost, and his words were not to be outdone. Yen Mo's face sank a little. After a while, he suddenly said, "In the past, I used to be Emperor's younger brother. I didn't expect that he was so clear and sharp." Yen Beicheng did not panic at all. He said coldly, "If your wife is assassinated in public, I don't know if you can still deal with it safely." "All right. Don't wait for Yen Mo mouth." The queen suddenly interrupted two people's words. Some headache pressed his temple. Yen Mo immediately stepped forward with a full face of concern. "The son minister is unfilial, which makes the mother upset." With Yen Mo in such a way, Yen Beicheng naturally can't ignore it, and also goes forward to accuse him. "When my son sees his beloved wife injured, he is excited for a moment, and he hopes his mother will forgive him." Empress Lin waved her hand and looked tired. "It's no wonder you're here. According to my palace, it's not Miss Lu's fault. Now Miss Lu is in a coma. Let's let it go." Yanbei City's face suddenly changed. Before it was time to go forward, Mo Shanghua, who had just gone down to bandage, came in and saluted. "Mother." Her voice was soft and gentle, without the coldness of the past, but her pale face could not be covered. "Mother, although I'm in good health, I don't know how Miss Lu is now." Empress Lin looked at the stranger strangely and said, "She hurt you. How can you care about her body?" Mo Shanghua smiles a little, but her smile doesn't reach the bottom of her eyes. The difficulty lies in whether Miss Lu is really nervous or sober. If you want to know, just wait for Miss Lu to wake up. Lu Qianqian is now temporarily placed in the side hall of Cunning Palace. He can't move left and right for the time being. It's okay to wait. Yen North City Heart Move, also follow forward a step. Sun Minister think this method is very good. Yen Moli was about to open her mouth, but she didn't give her a chance to open her mouth at all. She said, "The Empress is the queen. There's nothing wrong with what I said before. It's just that my son-in-law is the royal daughter-in-law. If you can't wait for Miss Lu to wake up and deal with it, I'm afraid it's not only unfair, but it will make others think that I'm a real bully. If I make a mistake, I just pretend to be a fool." A series of words, immediately let Empress Lin just disposition overthrow. In Empress Lin's heart, she didn't want to be angry and couldn't pick out a word. After a while, Empress Lin squeezed out a few words from her mouth, "Just as you said." Having said that, he took the flowers to the side hall. As for Yen Moli and Yen Beiqing, they are all men. Lu Qianqian has not yet come out of the cabinet, so he can only wait outside. As soon as the Empress Hua left, Yen Beiqing sighed with regret. I heard that Miss Lu is quite interested in Her Highness, and her mother often called her into the palace. A few days ago, the emperor's grandmother even mentioned to her father that she would marry her brother. Now it seems that Miss Lu is just about to have a predestined relationship with Her Highness. Yen Mo looks at Yen Beiqing without a smile, and does not hesitate to get rid of the relationship. My mother loves Miss Lu, but she pities Miss Lu's poor life experience. Now Miss Lu has made a terrible mistake. I think it's inconvenient for my mother to come and go with Miss Lu more in the future. The implication is that Lu Qianqian can never marry him as a concubine. Yen North City Lights smile, non-committal, the haze at the bottom of the eyes dispersed, as if the previous cold and terrible person is not him in general. In the side hall, Empress Lin gave the imperial doctor a command. Naturally, the imperial doctor did not dare to neglect him. She directly went forward to give Lu Qianqian needles. After a few needles, Lu Qianqian suddenly woke up. Mo Shanghua stepped forward and looked at Lu Qianqian, who was dazed and confused. He slowed down his voice and said, "Sister Lu is awake." As soon as Lu Qianqian saw that the visitor was a stranger, he was angry and burned up. He didn't even pay attention to where he was. However, her sense had recovered a lot at this time. Seeing the appearance of flowers on the street, she looked around the house subconsciously. Seeing the situation around her, her face suddenly changed. Before she could take action, she turned to the Empress and said, "Empress, Miss Lu seems to have no problem." In this way, she must have deliberately pretended to be a fool and wanted to take advantage of the opportunity to avenge her son's righteous words on her last birthday. Justice insisted a few words. She said the face is not red, breathless. Empress Lin's eyes twitched a few times. Before she could speak in detail, Lu Qianqian, who had just had bright eyes, suddenly screamed, shrank back to the corner of the bed and murmured, not me, I didn't do it." Such appearance is a symptom of madness. Seeing this, Empress Lin felt a little deep in her heart, but she felt a little sorry on her face. In this way, the matter will be written off. The flower's eyes on Lu Qianqian's slightly crazy face were fixed, and her face sighed with heartache. So, I don't blame Miss Lu anymore. If I want to come to Miss Lu's appearance, it's not easy to raise her in the future. It's not easy to talk to her at the same age as flowers. No one noticed that Lu Qianqian's original eyes suddenly missed a touch of hate, and her body trembled uncontrollably. Empress Lin was full of pity and couldn't bear to look at it. "Just let's go out first. There will be people delivering letters to Lu Xiang in our palace. You can go back to the palace first so that you can have a good health." "Thank you, mother." Flowers on the street smile and bow to salute. When Lu Bohan saw a smile on his face and was sent back to Lu Qianqian by the palace maid, he felt a sudden pain in his heart. He rushed forward to seize her hand and called in a hoarse voice, "Qianqian, what's the matter with you?" Seeing this, the maid-in-waiting felt pitiful. She hurriedly went forward with a salute. She explained clearly what happened today, and then got up to leave. Seeing off the maids, Lu Bohan has time to look at Lu Qianqian carefully. Before I had time to be sad, Lu Qianqian, who had been looking at him, suddenly raised his hand and grasped his arm, and squeezed it with a little force. Lu Bohan had been immersed in the officialdom for several years. How smart he was, he immediately realized and dismissed all the people in the house. When there was no one in the house, the silly smile on Lu Qian's face gradually faded, and the look in his eyes was clear. But that delicate pretty cheek, at the moment of soft no longer exist, only a hate. I don't know what she thought of. She began to feel sad, her eyes suddenly turned red, and her tears began to fall. Lu Bohan hasn't appeased anyone for most of his life. Seeing his daughter crying like this, he immediately panics. He really didn't know how to comfort him. He simply lowered his face and said, "Qianqian, what's the matter? You can tell your father that if someone bullies you, he will make the decision for you." Lu Qianxian rushed to his father's arms with tears on her face. After crying for a long time, she raised a pair of red and swollen eyes and cried, "Dad, it's a stranger, it's her. Today, she invited me to a dinner party, saying that she had something important to discuss with me. She deliberately humiliated me with words. I don't know what's wrong. I can't control my behavior completely. Think of here, she is a burst of sadness. If not ask Yen Moli today will also go to that restaurant, how can she go?" "Father." Lu Qiangying swallowed and said, "It's her, it must be her. She told the villain first. I had to pretend to be a fool to escape this disaster. However, I have no chance to talk to your highness in the future." Speaking of the back, she has choked, and tears are pouring out like a spring. Lu Bohan's face completely sank, and his anger was inexhaustible. "This evil animal. Qianqian, don't worry, Dad will make the decision for you." Lu Qianqian held his sleeve, crying out of breath, still said, "It's useless. The daughter, even how she calculated is not clear. The palace doctor is nothing." Lu Bohan was silent for a long time, and suddenly sighed. "Recently, the Empress Dowager has discussed with the Queen about the marriage of several princes. She has set up a banquet and is ready to choose the right woman at the banquet in a few days." Lu Qianqian's smell speech, unexpectedly a breath stem in the throat, temporarily did not slow down, 2 eyes a turn, faint. In the palace at that time, Empress Lin called Yen Moli into the inner room alone. "Li Air." Empress Lin's face was mild, and she said in a slow voice, "I know that although you don't say it, you are quite fond of Miss Lu in your heart, but she is no longer useful for such things today." I thought Yen Moli should be a little frustrated at least, but he didn't want to. He didn't look up and down. He just nodded. Mother is choosing the right one. Although the reaction was not as good as expected, Empress Lin was still satisfied with his reaction and said, "Your cousin Ener has come to see me recently, and she has some thoughts about you. If you like, we will discuss with your father and emperor in the evening, and after a few days of banquet, we can get married." Yen Moli arched his hands and saluted, "My son, thank you for your mother." As for Lu Qianqian, he was quite disgusted with her true identity, but now she is so stupid that she is not qualified to marry him for making such mistakes. However, he will never waste this move. He would order her to marry someone else and get information for him. He will never leave a scrap in his hand. Lu Qianqian, who is infatuated with Yen Moli, is still very sad that she can't marry Yen Moli. However, Yen Moli has already thought about her future role, and the candidate of Princess Ling has already fallen down. Yen Beicheng carefully embraces Mo Shanghua for fear of meeting the wound on her arm. His voice is full of heartache. "Why don't you hide? You don't want to get to her and death, so why bother?" Mo Shanghua's head was in Yen Beicheng's arms. "It's okay, but it didn't react at that time." After a pause, her brow slightly frowned. "This medicine effect may be a little fierce, which is beyond my expectation. I thought about it at that time, and then I would be a little slow." Things really like Lu Qianqian thought. It is really Mo Shanghua secretly moved hands and feet, silent to her under the poison. He will be crazy so far. Yen North City Sword Eyebrow also followed Siu to get up. Hang Mao surprised Hair to look at her. "How can appear such an accident? I think it's the reason why I'm a little tired today." The flower Mao color on the MO is light, obviously didn't put this matter in the heart. Yen North City full of remorse heartache, silent for a long time, just gently sigh. "I'm useless. I always want you to work so hard." Mo Shanghua silently embraces his thin waist, with a smile on his lips. "It's not because of you. Why do you blame yourself? But I've troubled you. If you hadn't mentioned marriage in front of the Empress Dowager, it would not have been smooth." Her red lips slightly hook, gouging like eyes a bit dark color. "Think, in a few days, I give Lu Qianqian's second gift is coming." But Yen Beicheng couldn't smile. He frowned and said, "If you really hate him to the bone, you can understand her directly. Why bother yourself?" Mo Shanghua shook her head and sat up straight. "This is what she owes me. I will take away what she wants one by one. Then she said, I don't know if Lu Zheng can get out of trouble now? Yen North City slightly nodded, lips gently raised. Just a few merchants, how can I trap people? He gently held the hand of flowers on the road. When you pick him up, you can be more relaxed. The flower on the street was quite pleased with a smile. Then she thought of something. Her face was a bit straight. What's going on in the court recently? But someone wants you to go back to Yuzhou. When it comes to business, Yanbei City's eyes are also straightened down. The emperor's grandmother said that she hadn't seen her for many years. She wanted to stay with me for some more time. Together with some other vassals, she was also in the city and didn't let them go. The imperial city is no better than Yuzhou. As a vassal, Yan Beiqing naturally went to the court. Although he secretly deployed a lot in the court, he can't use it now, so he can only win over the Empress Dowager. He was bold enough to please the Empress Dowager. In any case, the imperial city is the center of power of the kingdom of God. He has been preparing for many years, and now it's time for him to show his skills, and never let Yen Moli alone dominate. In the future, I'm afraid no one will go to the Prime Minister's office to propose marriage. Yen Beiqing suddenly thought of something and went back to the topic. Only in this way, Yen Moli will marry a more prominent woman. The group on the flower face in the street didn't think so, and said lightly, it's sooner or later for the prince to get married. If it's a woman with poor status, don't say Yen Moli himself, even the emperor won't agree. As for herself, it was only an exception. Yanbei City is silent, holding the flowers on the street. It's a rare tranquility in the air. Today, Lu Qianxian pretended to be a fool in front of the Emperor Lin, so he didn't have the reason to recover quickly as soon as he got back to the mansion. Moreover, he couldn't find the evidence that Emo Shanghua framed her, so he had to eat this boring loss and recuperate in the mansion. As for Yen Moli, she was naturally anxious. But Yen Moli once had an order that she couldn't contact without his calling. No matter how urgent she had nothing to do. A few days later, the palace held a banquet to invite many royal relatives, nobles, princes and nobles. Among them are your married or unmarried princes and princesses, young and innocent young ladies. Even Yen Zhenxuan, who was not in good health, rarely attended. Naturally, the last Empress Dowager's birthday party was an exception. The banquet in the palace is the most boring. The flowers on the street have lost their interest after sitting at the meeting. They are quite impatient. Guesher did not attend today's meeting. He was sitting beside Yan Beiqing, who was smiling and lazy. Empress Lin is very interested in inviting your ministers to show their talents. Her eyes sometimes sweep over the faces of the young women who have never been in the court. Finally, her eyes are fixed on Lin Xiangyin, and Michelle invites her to perform first. Lin Xiangyin's temperament is not very good, but in the end, she is the granddaughter waiting for her direct relatives in the East. Her status is valuable and she has been well educated since she was a child. Her Mao Guang some shyly sweeps past Yen Emoli, who sits on the opposite side to slant to the position, summoned up the courage to step forward a dance. Graceful dance, light posture, is not inferior to any outstanding women. Empress Lin's eyes became more and more gentle. As for Lu Qian, he is still in the Prime Minister's office to recuperate and is not even qualified to attend the banquet. Yen North City since a few days ago after the event, camouflage heart slightly lighter, slightly side head to the flowers, said with a smile, want to come and you expect good. Emo Shanghua nodded slightly, not surprised. Miss Lin's family is very famous. Her father and grandfather all hold real power. She is also Empress Lin's niece. Without Lu Qianxian, she is the most suitable one. Sure enough, as soon as their voices fell, the first Empress Lin said with a smile, Xiangyin, you are both talented and beautiful. It's even more rare that you are infatuated with Li Er. Today, you might as well let our palace decide to marry you too? Lin Xiangyin's face was full of shyness. Her cheeks turned red to the roots of her ears. She looked at her mother, who was wearing expensive clothes and smiling. Then she said, "But it's up to the queen." Yen Moli also walked out of the banquet and bowed down to salute. "My son, thank you for your mother's marriage." Empress Lin was relieved, and her smile became softer and softer. "So, when the banquet is over, our palace will kiss Fengji to marry you too." Seeing this, Lin Xiangyin's mother, Su's family, hurriedly pulls Lin Xiangyin out together and bends down to thank her. Both mother and daughter are happy. This is a private banquet set up by the queen. Liu Bohan and other ministers were not invited. Otherwise, they would be angry at this time. Yen North City Lips Cape Tiny Pick, rise to congratulate. Congratulation to Emperor Elder Brother. This king raises a glass here for congratulation. Mo Shanghua also got up together, just a light sentence, congratulations. Other princesses and princesses also got up to congratulate one after another. Yen Mo Li one by one should, Mao Guang as if nothing had happened in the Mo Hua Yen North City body slightly turned a circle, quickly take back the eyes. The first Empress Lin married her adopted son. She was obviously in a better mood. She turned her eyes and fell on Yen Beiqing. North City. You've been an adult for nearly a year. Why hasn't there been any good news? There are 3 ways to be unfilial. This is to take the opportunity of accountability, but also to make the strangers spend in public face no face? Yen Beiqing's eyes were a little heavy. He took the initiative to come forward and reply. After returning to his mother, my son's minister is free and easy. He is not ready to be a father. Moreover, this matter is not forced. He always wants to follow the will of heaven. Empress Lin glanced at the flowers on his side, and the gentle color on her face faded slightly. Why did the palace hear that there were several concubines in your house, but since the princess came into the house, there are fewer concubines? Now there is only one concubine. This is accountability. At present, she is still at the banquet, but in front of so many people, Empress Lin is obviously not paying attention to the flowers on the street. It's a shame on her. A trace of coldness flashed through the flower eyes on the street, and he quickly lowered his eyes. After returning to his mother, it's an ordinary house. It's also common for women to engage in intrigue and disrespect for their mother. It's also common for women who are not in good health, and there are not many people in the Lord's house. Mother. His always warm and pale face was a little worried, and he said, "Although I don't know what's going on inside, I just think that the emperor's sister-in-law is right. What's more, the emperor's sister-in-law works hard for the trivial matters of the inner house, and some shortcomings are normal. Please forgive me." Although Yen Zhenxuan is not in good health and does not have the qualification to compete for the crown prince, Emperor Baorong has always cherished him. Naturally, Empress Lin will not offend Emperor Baorong. Only, her brow still can't help but slightly frown. Yen Zhenxuan's love affair with Mo Shanghua before it happened is well known, but if we don't avoid suspicion now, isn't it reproachable? Not to mention Empress Lin, even Yen Beiqing's face could not help sinking. Yen Mo, who has always been silent in front of the public, opens his mouth rarely, but his words are extremely cruel. How can the 13th emperor's younger brother be so concerned about the 5th younger brother and sister? In a short sentence, people's eyes changed, and even the atmosphere in the air became delicate. Before Mo Shanghua had time to defend himself, Yen Beiqing turned his head with a black face, and his eyes were full of anger. The 13th emperor's younger brother stood up and did what he should do between his uncle and sister-in-law. What's wrong? But the 2nd emperor's elder brother, at least the king's own, how can he see that his younger brother and sister have been misunderstood and ignored? Yen Zhenxuan, who would never refute others, was also cold. Please be careful with your 2nd brother. Yen Zhenxuan is still expected, but Yen Beiqing's words to maintain is to make Yen Nemoli can't see through, on the face can't help but vent a bit surprised. In his mind, Yen Moli, in order to create an image of a dandy and a waste firewood, has already put up with it. Previously, I was indifferent to the flowers on the street. Even when he was in Yuzhou, he just regarded it as a play. Recently, however, it's amazing that he often shows his horse's feet for the sake of flowers on the street. No matter how the heart turns, it's a matter of a moment. But for a moment, Yen Moli adjusted his mood and said, Brother Huang's words have wronged me. I'm just surprised at Brother Huang's words. Yen Zhenxian pursed tight lip petal to have no openings, Mao inside a burst of complex. In fact, even he did not know why he would react so quickly. Maybe I saw her a few days ago. After all, my heart was untied. I still couldn't really turn a blind eye to her. Yen Beiqing snorted. He knelt down beside Emo Shanghua and held her soft hands tightly. Mother, my behavior is unknown inside and outside Yuzhou City. It has nothing to do with the princess. On the contrary, it was because of the arrival of the princess that the inner house was tidied up in an orderly way, and I was too happy. Not to mention that in Yuzhou, the imperial city just came back, he is also a vagabond who often sleeps in the fireworks and Willow Lane outside. Empress Lin couldn't pretend she didn't know, so she just sighed and said, That's all. Just get up. Then they all stood up. When he got up, Yen Zhenxuan couldn't help but skip the cold face of the flowers on the street. Emo Shanghua didn't look at him, but Yen Beiqing, holding Emo Shanghua's hand from beginning to end, didn't let go. He only held it more tightly. Yen Zhenxuan eyes across a bit bitter, drooping eyes way, Sun Minister body discomfort, first leave. Empress Lin nodded slightly and watched Yen Zhenxuan go away. Yen Beiqing was about to take Mo Shanghua back. Empress Lin, who had just stopped for a moment, suddenly said, Beiqing, the offspring is always the most important. It's time for you to accept it. I'll give you a concubine and 2 concubines. Yen Mo Li clearly sees that the flower on the street is suddenly stiff on its originally calm and waveless face. It seems that it is going to break the ice. The corners of his lips suddenly rose slightly, and the gloomy color in his eyes dispersed a little. Yen North City is more clearly feel, and Mo Shanghua hand are tight a few minutes. He felt a little happy in his heart. He didn't dare to show his face. He looked at Empress Lin with a sad face. My son has already got married, but my mother is still worried about this. I'm really sorry. I'm afraid to bother my mother. After a pause, he turned his eyes and looked at Yen Moli. It's the second emperor brother. You're going to get married soon. You have more things to do. There are still several other emperor brothers who haven't got married. How dare they let their mother work hard? In particular, the younger brother of the 13 emperors, though not in good health, is old enough to get married. The chill in the eyes, which was covered by the flowers on the street, suddenly faded at the moment. It's a real disaster. I can't find any fault. Empress Lin, as the empress of the palace and the legitimate mother of all the princes, naturally wants her to take care of all these things. That is to say, the selection of concubines can't be decided by her, and she has to worry about the wedding afterwards. This banquet is also discussed with Baorong Emperor, preparing to secretly look at each other for the princes at the banquet, since then only busy. At the thought of this, she had a headache, so she had to stop thinking and sighed, well, let's go. Yanbei City is busy pulling the flowers to leave. Yen Zhenxuan's face, which had just turned sunny, suddenly became gloomy again. Lu Qianqian's affair he knew was the ghost of Yen Beiqing and his wife, so he discussed with Empress Lin and prepared to give them a warning. By the way, he put 2 of his own people in. Unexpectedly, it was a failure. Well, at least he has lost his face. He must have a good idea. Empress Lin and Yen Moli are really close to each other. Lu Qianqian's affairs are only a few days old, which makes Empress Lin wear shoes for me in public, and she is the one who wants to put him in the house. Among the half-open windows, the candle was gently swayed by the breeze, and the flowers on the street sat in front of the window lattice, with a cold face. Yen Beiqing, a pair of quiet pupil, is also angry, eyes dark color, does not listen to rolling. But subconsciously, he closed the window tightly. Then he said in a deep voice, since he likes to stuff people into other people's houses, I will give him a gift. Dun dun, his eyes inside the dark color a turn, thin lip micro pick, presumably the queen is too idle. Mo Shanghua came over in an instant and showed the same deep color on her face. I want to give this gift to Yen Moli first. Yen North City side I look to come over, Mao inside cold idea slightly fade, how do you want? The flowers on the street smile slightly, but there is no smile in the eyes, you will know in a few days. Yen Beicheng suddenly began to laugh. The laughter was deep and pleasant. I want to come. You and I think of one place. Although the flowers on the street did not make it clear, he already had the number in his heart. Mo Shanghua turns his head, and his eyes are on the handsome face that he has removed the dazzling scarlet at the moment. The candle is quiet, his skin is more delicate and white than women's, more people can't help but want to touch. Mo Shanghua directly touched just past, Mao Guang looked at him seriously, you broke the precepts for me again today. Yen Beicheng laughs with indifference. Her slender hand grabs her soft and tender hands, and her voice is hoarse and smiling. No harm. After a pause, he was afraid of the flowers on the street, so he explained, if you want to carry out the future plan, you can't always look like a dandy. I always want them to think I'm changing. So slowly change, and finally succeed in turning the real him to others. Think about it, then no one will have too much doubt in him. Mo Shanghua was a little relieved, and her ruddy lips were lightly picked. It's a long time to come. This game of chess needs to be played slowly. Now, I'll take back the interest one by one. She saw clearly, standing opposite her in Yanbei City, eyes burning the same light. The next afternoon, Empress Lin and Emperor Baorong discussed with each other the choice of the prince and concubine of the unmarried 6 princes, 7 princes and 13 princes. They wanted to marry each other, but they called the national teacher to see them. All of them were against Empress Lin. After careful calculation, I realized that Empress Lin's life was a little hard, and those women's life was too short to bear. There are only a few candidates who are worthy of the title of prince and concubine. In this way, it is extremely troublesome to replace all of them. Princes can't delay their marriage because of Empress Lin, so they always don't marry. In addition, under the hint of the national master, Baorong Emperor secretly suspected that the prince or concubines who died early in the palace were conquered by Empress Lin's fate. At the suggestion of the national master, Empress Lin was forced to stop the imperial concubines, princesses and princesses' morning and evening meditation. She was trapped in the Buddhist hall of Cunning Palace to eat fast and chant Buddhism. She didn't know when she would be released. The right of the harem naturally fell to other imperial concubines, and the marriage of Yen Moli, who was raised under her knee, was handled by other concubines. This matter soon spread in the royal palace to the royal city of Sunjiwai Circle. For a time, the wind in the palace changed greatly. Yanbei City has long ordered people to spread the news. The first reaction to the news is to frown slightly. Would you rather know that there is no change? Ning knows that Yen Mo and Lian put it in. Previous actions show that he is not a good person. Why would he sit back and ignore it? Qinya shook her head in a dazed way. She was also confused by the words of flowers on the street. The flowers on the street are more and more puzzled. Just as they are thinking about it, they can see a bird about the size of a palm coming in from the window. The bird's wings are rather stiff. It's hard to fly, and it stops in front of the flowers on the street. Mo Shanghua stretched out her hand, and it stopped steadily in the palm of Mo Shanghua's hand. Just now the lifelike bird flashed white light. When you see it clearly, it is already a thin paper folded shape. Next to Qinya, she was shocked and kept rubbing her eyes. Mo Shanghua stares at the paper bird in her palm for a long time, but her eyes are not shocked. She is even through rebirth such mysterious things have met people, such a simple method of change, but let her mind drama shock, lung trance. Such a mysterious method of change, as if in which have seen the general, inexplicably familiar. This bird fold is so exquisite that ordinary people don't know how to unfold it. Mo Shanghua picked up the bird in a strange way. Her slender fingers moved flexibly. In less than a moment, she had completely unfolded the paper without any damage. Qinya was more and more shocked, staring at the flowers on the street, Princess, how do you know how to unfold this? I can't understand it. However, what surprised her even more was still to come. Emo Shanghua took the tea and dipped the paper in the tea. A moment later, he took it out and saw a line of clear and correct small words on the original white paper. I'd like to thank you for your kindness. It's better to know. A simple line of words has made clear the meaning and who did it. A pair of clear black and white eyes of Emo Shanghua are staring at this line of words, but the fantasy scene is replayed repeatedly in her mind. It seems that there is something slowly cracking in the deep of her mind. Well, what kind of magic is it, princess? How do you seem to know everything? Do you also know magic? Qin Ya's voice rang in her ears, but she turned a deaf ear to it, and her head began to ache. Princess, what's the matter with you? Qin Ya saw that Emo Shanghua's face was more and more wrong. She even covered her head and fell down. She was so scared that her face turned white and cried out. Emo Shanghua's face was pale, and the pain in her head became more and more severe. At a certain moment, she seemed to have reached an end. With a bang, she cracked her alarm clock, and then she fainted. In the boundless darkness, there seems to be a deep and indifferent man's voice, coming from afar. Well, who asked me to promise her? I can fulfill your wish. Good. The words were very clear, but her mind was in chaos. At most, only half of a sentence could be heard clearly. There was nothing in front of her but darkness. She didn't know where the voice was coming from or where the speaker was. She didn't know what to answer, her mind seemed to be glued together by a paste, and she didn't have the ability to think. When you open your eyes again, the first feeling on your body is the coolness above your eyes and cheeks. She subconsciously raised her hand and touched it, a cool water stain reflected on her hand. The flower on the street suddenly fell into a daze, and what she heard and saw in her dream was gradually blurred. What she could only remember was that there was a man who asked the woman if she would agree to his terms. I can't even remember what I said. Yen Beiqing stayed for a long time in front of the flower collapse on the street. When she woke up, her eyes were still confused and her heart became more and more anxious. She could not help calling again and again. Her voice changed from a light voice to an urgent low cry, and her eyes were full of red blood. God knows how anxious he was when he saw the appearance of Emo Shanghua. Now seeing her like this, it's like putting him on a fire rack. Has been no place to put the big hand or uncontrollable put on her thin shoulder, gently shaking. Emo Shanghua finally came back. Her eyes fell on Yen Beiqing's half-handsome cheek, and her expression was in a trance. The deep voice of the man in his head seems to coincide with the person in front of him. But when his eyes touched the big scarlet on his other half's cheek, it disappeared completely. I'm fine. Don't worry. The flowers on the street finally came back to their senses and pulled out a smile to appease them in a low voice. However, Yen Beiqing was not at all at ease. His eyes were half anxious. Why would he faint when nothing happened? No, I have to call the doctor back to help you have a good look. Then he told Qin Ya to go. Qin Ya is also anxious, smell speech will turn to go. No need. Emo Shanghua sees Busy Ray's high voice to call Qin Ya. Qin Yang turned her head with her eyes and her voice was full of tears. Princess, although the imperial doctor just said that your body is okay, now you wake up, you should have a closer look. Emo Shanghua reluctantly stretched out her left hand for her pulse. While feeling her pulse, she comforted her and said, I am a doctor myself. I only call you because of this. Qin Ya had no other words, but Yen Beiqing's face was still dignified. If you can cure yourself, it won't be like this. You know how worried I am. People are selfish, but at that moment he wished he was lying on the bed. It's better than sitting here, knowing that she's okay, not even knowing the cause of her coma. Especially when she just fainted, her face was pale, her eyes were closed, but her tears were still flowing, which made him more worried than killing him. Emo Shanghua carefully diagnosed his pulse, but frowned. My body is really okay. As for why I faint, I can't find the reason. Nothing is good, nothing is good. Yen Beiqing embraces her, and her face slowly eases. Nose is no longer elegant light sandalwood fragrance, but a burst of sweat, skirt also slightly wet. She raised her hand on his neck and touched it gently. It was really sticky. Although it's summer now, there's ice in the house. It's very cool. How can it be hot and sweaty? People do this only when they are nervous. Emo Shanghua's heart is startled. I can't imagine that Yan Beiqing is so nervous. In the hand can't help slightly exerting oneself, tightly embracing him as far as possible. Qinya took a look in silence, her heart was relieved, and she walked out lightly. I'm okay. I'm really okay. Don't worry. Emo Shanghua really didn't know how to comfort her, so she had to stress that she was okay. Yan Beiqing didn't make a sound. He let her go for a long time, but his eyes still fell on the cheek of Emo Shanghua. Seeing that the color of her cheek had returned, she was a little relieved. Emo Shanghua noticed that his eyes were full of red blood. He couldn't help looking at the sky again. As expected, it was completely dark. What time is it? The next day. Emo Shanghua's fine eyebrows suddenly frowned again, and without waiting for Emo Shanghua to ask questions, he took the initiative to hold his hand. Sure enough, it was sticky, but she refused to let go. I don't know why. I just think it's very familiar. It seems that I've seen it somewhere, but I can't remember. I fainted after a headache. She leaned half of her body against the soft pillow and whispered. Yan Beiqing took out a piece of folded paper from his sleeve pocket and said, "Is that it?" Emo Shanghua nodded a little, tried to recall for a while, and said, "After fainting, I dreamt that I was in chaos. Someone told me that I could help me, but I didn't know why I was so miserable. She's slightly a meal, complexion Shinning. I always feel that it does not seem to be a dream. Nature is not a dream." Yen North City sneer, a pair of phoenix eyes inside all is cold meaning, rather no surface don't have any dispute with me, secretly bewitch emperor just, now, unexpectedly hand to you here. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.